What's going on, guys? Right, Mommy Teacher in the house, and I'm here with another video in my What If I Was in a Gen series. This time round, we are looking at Generation 3 and the Hoenn region specifically. Yes, of course, Fire Red and Leaf Green came out in this generation, but we're not going to talk about those as they are Kanto region. So go all the way back to Gen 1 if you want to see the Kanto region games. So yeah, we're going to talk about Gen 3, we're going to talk about Hoenn. Now, this gen was kind of an interesting gen. For the first time, we had abilities in the game. We had a very expansive roster of new Pokemon, which was the third highest in Pokemon history behind Gen 1 and Gen 5, with 136 new Pokemon in the game. The abilities are the key factor, though. I think abilities definitely did change the game quite a bit. But there were only 77 abilities. Most Pokemon only got one ability. The odd Pokemon got two, but not many. So there weren't that many abilities in the game. There weren't really any new items in the game. Next gen's where a lot of the big competitive items really came in. So largely speaking, you saw leftovers or like choice band most of the time in a lot of sets in Gen 3. There weren't too many other things like Citrus Berry, Lumberry were also things, but aside from that, there wasn't a lot of items still, but abilities are the important factor here. So, Gen 3 is a nightmare. The Hoenn region games, as most of you guys know by now, is my favorite generation and region of games. So, picking a replacement for this region was pretty darn difficult. I was looking at the gym leaders, and to be honest, a lot of the gym leaders were kind of okay to pretty strong. I was looking at potentially the 7th gym with Tate and Liza making a double battle slightly different because 3 of their Pokemon were weak to water, which made no sense to me. I was kind of a bit like, it's a psychic gym, why is it so weak to water? But when I was trying to look at building a new team, I was finding it actually quite hard to build a team that I liked with it. Of course, I have no problem with Steven as a champion. I don't think he's the best champion by any means, but he's a pretty cool champion nonetheless. So I didn't really want to replace him. Rival, didn't really see a reason to replace Wally. I thought Wally was actually one of the better rivals in the games. I think his character development is really strong. And he's got a pretty cool team, so I didn't really feel like I wanted to mess with that. But I do think there are 2 potential candidates here, of which I picked one of them that were perhaps not as good in these games, but did get better in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, of course, the remakes in Gen 6, but that was with a lot more mechanics in the game, and that's actually the leaders of the evil teams. In both instances, they have a Mightyena and a Crobat, and then, of course, their mascot Pokemon, if I remember right. I know Maxie has Camerupt, and Archie has Sharpedo, which is cool. They actually represent their themes and their status really well, but the rest of the team kind of doesn't. It just felt like they threw a couple of Pokemon on it. So I decided I think the most egregious of the 2 of those is actually the Magma leader, Maxie. I think Maxie is generally okay, but you only fight him 3 times in the game. Once at Mount Chimney, once in the Moss Deep Space Center, which is a double battle with the Anman, and there's one I'm forgetting. Is it Mount Pyre? I can't remember. There's one I'm forgetting that's just not dawned on me. It's just completely slipped my mind, even though I was researching it before. Let me have a look, so I don't get this completely wrong. It is... oh yeah, the Magma Hideout. Duh, it's in... yeah, I remember. Magma Hideout. Didn't dawn on me for some reason. I am largely talking about Emerald, of course. So, yeah, this often the expanded one is the better one to talk about. But I felt like with the Magma leader, there's a lot better opportunities you can do with typing. As he's due to expanding the landmass, he definitely should have the ground typing. But I kind of like the idea of fire versus water. You're using the sun to expand landmass, so having that fire typing makes an awful lot of sense. So I decided to try and build a team in and around like having the fire and ground typing. In all 3 matches you actually fight Maxie in. He only has 3 Pokemon. I feel like it would be much better if he had 4, especially in the last fight, which will be the double battle. I think he should definitely have 4. So we're gonna do 4 Pokemon in this instance. So let's talk about the 4 that I chose and why I chose them. So much like having like a loyal dog Pokemon, I actually felt like Arcanine was probably better than Mightyena. Yes, Arcanine has Intimidate, which is actually nice for the physical attackers, which will largely come against the Magma Hideout in general. We're running the Barcanine set, which is a set I really loved from back in Gen 3 with Howl. Howl is not the best move in the world, it only raises attack by 1 stage, but with Extreme Speed and Iron Tail is actually a very nice move to catch the rock types that would often come in against Arcanine. So Overheat, of course, is the stab of choice. With decent special attack and a fire typing, it's kind of awkward because all fire type moves are special in this game. There is still no physical special split, which kind of sucks, but yeah, Overheat is probably the best one. There is things like Fire Blast and Flamethrower and Flame Wheel and stuff like that, but I feel like Overheat for a lead Pokemon isn't so bad. E-Speed is kind of nice because it can catch you on unawares if you've got a Pokemon that's too low. Leftovers, of course, keeping you a bit healthy just to make things a little bit awkward. I do think the Magma Leader should absolutely have items. I know they typically use potions, but I don't see a reason why they can't use items as well. Next up on the team is going to be the primary Sunsetter, which is actually going to be Torkoal. Torkoal does not get Drought in this gen, unfortunately. It only has White Smoke, which is not a big deal. It does get Sunny Day, though, and it is naturally bulky on that physical side. Doesn't get access to Solar Beam either, which is kind of unfortunate, but Rest Talk is still relatively strong in this gen. Rest Talking into Fire Blast, which would be 100% accurate in Sun. Pretty darn disgusting. It's very, very powerful. Does hit incredibly hard, especially under the sun with Sunny Day. So it's absolutely worth picking up. Leftovers, of course, for that longevity as well. I considered putting Lumberry or Chestoberry on this just to keep it going, but Leftovers is fine. I have Sleep Talk anyway, so it's not the biggest deal in the world if I still stay asleep, so long as I can still hit those Fire Blasts. But yeah, this thing generally nukes the team. With those 2 fire typings already, I decided to look at a ground typing, and to be honest, ground type's actually not the best in this gen, personally. The best one I could really think of, I was going to go Rhydon, but Rhydon's a Pokemon that I don't think fits an Evil Team well, but Golem has featured on Evil Teams before, so I felt like no reason why not. Golem actually has a pretty interesting set with the Sturdy, which is kind of annoying. Most Golems actually run Rockhead. This is one of the few Pokemon that actually got 2 abilities. But I like Sturdy a little bit better because of Explosion and Counter. They're kind of little fun sets. Who doesn't love a Pokemon that explodes in your face? It's definitely really annoying, but it's definitely fitting. Like exploding the landmass. Definitely like a volcanic eruption, essentially. Counter is also nice because a lot of physical attacks can be a problem, especially fighting. So I decided to run Sturdy Counter, which is kind of mean, kind of obnoxious, especially alongside the Earthquake Rock Slide, which is phenomenal type coverage in general. Hits a lot of mons really, really obnoxiously. So yeah, Golem is actually very bulky. Definitely fits the typing. Being essentially a big rock, definitely represents the landmass a lot better than Crobat, for example. So running Golem is really cool. I think it fits. The explosion is kind of the fun part, obviously. But yeah, this thing does hit hard, and you can't one-shot it, which makes it even worse. And the last mod on the team is the only mod I actually didn't change, which was Camerupt. I felt like Camerupt was too good not to bring, but I did change its moveset because the moveset that Maxie's Camerupt has made no sense whatsoever. It was such a weak set. Now, admittedly, like, you are going to get one-shot by water moves most of the time, unless you're in Sun, which the Torkoal can set up. So there is that aspect to it. I almost put Sunny Day on Arcanine as well, but I felt like Arcanine was just too cool not to bring. But yeah, Camerupt with Earthquake and Fire Blast is very, very strong in terms of its stab output. And then Rock Slide is there, of course, for that coverage as before. But we did run Toxic as well. This thing can be very, very annoying. I did consider an Explosion on this thing as well. But as this is the Ace Pokemon, I felt like it was kind of not appropriate to run Explosion on it. But yeah, this set's actually surprisingly good. If you actually wanted to focus on EVs in this game, because EVs were a thing, this was the other thing that for competitive was definitely a big focus. It changed the way you kind of invested into the game. As EVs became much easier and understandable, we had the stupid DVs in Gen 1 and 2, which didn't make any sense. For the purposes of this, I didn't actually do any EV spreads. I didn't do any investment in any of these sets. I didn't really feel like it was worth it. Maybe if it was like a ROM hack, like a Draiano hack or something, they'd probably do the EV spreads, but I felt like for the purpose of this, we just won't do EVs. I could have done full competitive EV sets, but this isn't necessarily competitive, it's placing me in the story. So I didn't want to be over the top difficult, but I wanted a team that was a lot more thematically appropriate, so I feel like this was a pretty good attempt at it. I'm definitely not completely sold on the Golem, but I do think the other three make an awful lot of sense. But nonetheless, that's my thoughts on my Team Magma leader team. What would you guys do? Would you guys do anything different? Let me know. I'm definitely love to hear it. Also, if you've got an Aqua leader team, definitely let me know, because I wasn't really sure what I would want to do for that one either. But either way, that's going to be it from me. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Bomby Teacher. I'm your coach of the Roll Bomber for Bombies. Stay safe, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.